All right, good people. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Hopefully, you guys had a wonder-filled holiday, Thanksgiving. Lots of stuff to be thankful for, right? Let's get this show on the road. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back. An amazing week of shows for you lined up. All right, let me make sure that that is done. All right, what's going on, Angela? Double A in the building. Who else do we have in the building? Where you from? You guys know already. Put your name of your brand down in the comments. You guys see, I'm trying to join the beard gang with my little scraggly beard. All right, let's get this show on the road, man. This is a big topic, much needed topic. You know, we got a lot of single women dating women and men on the stream, so thought I'd do a series on money and relationships. All right, so let's go ahead and get YouTube queued up. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Good morning, Black World, and welcome to Talking Money in the Morning Live with your main man, H. Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the Black community, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur, where I do my absolute best to bring practical yet proven wealth-building strategies to working men and women all over this great nation of ours. It's truly an honor, privilege, and a blessing to come to you live and direct from the Monetize My Life Academy studios here in St. Louis, Missouri. Guys, if you are building a business, and you're not focusing on building a brand, let me be the first to tell you, you are not building a sustainable business. 80% of business is branding and marketing, man. You got to get yourself out there. And if you don't know how to do that using today's technology, then I want you to go to monetizemylifeacademy.com. I want you to enter coupon code only $20. So capital ONLY $20. And you're going to be able to get a subscription to Monetize My Life Academy for just $20 per month, right? And that deal goes on through the end of the year, and then it doubles beginning of January, and then it will ultimately rest at $97 per month. There's so much content in there, guys, to help you build your business. So much info in there to help you take your business and your brand to a whole new level. Passive income stream and ideas. If you want to know email marketing, social media marketing, if you want to learn how to podcast, blog, use your websites, affiliates, whatever you want to know how to do and turn your passions into profits, then Monetize My Life Academy has got you covered. Got to get back on track with our weekly trainings. I was off a couple weeks. So this Sunday we'll be doing another Sunday Night Live weekly training. So you can't beat what you get in terms of value for $20. And if you don't have $20 to invest in your business to grow it, why are you in business, right? So again, monetizemylifeacademy.com. If you want to click on the link in the description and grab your copy of the free ebook, Easy Online Incomes, we'll kind of give you some ideas on some things that you can do to make some money online as well. Or if you go to monetizemalifeacademy.com, you'll see the opt-in form below to grab that free ebook as well. Today, we're talking about relationships and money, right? Money is often taboo in a lot of relationships. So before we get into that, do me a huge favor. If you're checking this out on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed to the channel. And then be sure to copy to the link to today's show and share it on your favorite social media timeline. Same thing with you guys on Facebook. If you have not already hit the share, please share. Good stuff to talk about today. A lot of us are already in relationships, married and things, and have not talked about some of these things that we're going to talk about today. But if you are not, and you're trying to figure out how to breach the conversation and the topic of money, so that you don't come off, ladies, as a gold digger or something like that, fellas, you don't come off as being nosy. But money does not buy happiness, right? But talking about money before you get into a relationship can help that relationship create happiness within. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. For those of you who don't know, have never seen the show before, I'd like to let you know exactly who the show is for. This show is for risers and grinders only, man. You got to be ready to get up, get out, and get something. And if that's you, this is your show. This show is for those who are seeking for information on how to build legacies for their family. If that is you, this is your show. On the other hand, who is the show not for? It's not for that bump on the log. It's not for that person who's got a problem for every solution. It's not for the person who don't like the fact that I just said money 12 times in the last 10 seconds. Nah, man, this show is for winners. And if you're not one and you're not looking to become one, then I would have to politely ask you to exit the stream stage left. Yeah, man, if you're not here to learn how to grow, to learn how to build, to connect with other people who are growing and building, then we don't want you around here. We have a low tolerance for people who lack ambition, and there's no softer way to say that, man. If you don't have ambition, if you don't see an opportunity to change your circumstances and help create a legacy for your children, then get from around here, man. Get from around here. It's that simple, man. We have a low tolerance for people who have no ambition. But if you got some ambition and you're looking for some tools, you're looking for some help, you're looking to make some connections, then this is absolutely the show for you. So really quickly, you guys know I don't know everything about money. I especially don't know a lot about relationships and money, but I ran across this article on the Sage Couples website, and I thought I'd bring it to you today. Very, very good topic. Could create some... It could break up some relationships as well as it could strengthen some relationships and lay the groundwork and a solid foundation for a good, solid, healthy relationship. Because we know the statistics say that 50% of all marriages end in divorce, and 80% of those marriages or something astronomically high like that. The reason for the divorce in a lot of cases is money related. We like to think that infidelity is high on the list, and that happens in marriages, but believe it or not, that's not what breaks marriages up. It's the financial strain that breaks marriages up. So we're going to talk about some things that you should be talking about before marriage, and don't feel bad if you already married and didn't talk about this stuff before you got married. Well, there's some things that you can talk about and some subjects that you want to broach. So let's get into it, man. I'm excited. Number one thing that you want to talk about before you get married, the number one money topic, you want to talk about income and assets. Now, I like the way they laid out the article because they gave you some things that you want to know, but they gave you some softer ways to ask and to broach the topic so that you can, really don't come off the wrong way. But if you have two mature adults, I think any two mature adults getting together and looking to build a long-term relationship understands that these conversations have to be had. They just don't know how to engage in these conversations. So you absolutely want to know about the person's income and assets. Ladies, You've got to be careful because you don't want to come off as a gold digger. But fellas, you want to know what she brings to the table as well. A lot of times, as men, we're taught to basically deal with whatever the woman brings to the table. As long as she's fine, she's thick, she's approved of by our friends, then yeah, we just kind of, we accept. We're not really taught what to look for in a woman a lot of times. But it is quite okay, fellas, for you to have standards. Fellas, I'm going to say that again. It is quite all right for you to have a certain set of standards when you're looking for a queen to build your empire with. Ladies, it is absolutely imperative that you have standards. It's beyond all right. You absolutely should have standards when you're looking for that king to build your empire with. So assets and income is something that you want to watch. Now, here's what you want to know, right? So the way they broke the article down is they give you what you want to know, but then they give you some ways to approach the topic. So what you want to know, you absolutely want to know, how much money do you make? 43% of people who've gotten married took a survey and admitted that they had no clue what their spouse's income range was when they got married. 43, that's almost 50%, almost half the people who go into a relationship don't even know what income range their spouse is in, right? So what you want to know is, how much do you make? How much do you save? How much you got in your savings account? Do you have a trust fund? Are you heir to some fortune that I should know about? Right? That's what you want to know. But there's a certain way that you have to ask and approach that conversation to uncover what you know without sounding like you're probing, without sounding too nosy, and things of that nature. So number one, it says what you can ask instead of asking just bluntly, man, how much money you make? Sis, how much money you bring in? What's your annual salary, right? Let me see your pay stub. You don't want to ask those kinds of questions, but what you can ask is, how have you approached saving? Right? What's your approach to saving? Right? How do you feel about savings? And then these questions you won't ask in one sitting. Right? These are questions that you ask throughout the dating relationship, but you watch their behavior and you listen to their answers and see if their behavior matches these answers, because especially from, we all love to come into our relationships with our representative, right? We send our representative out there, and our representatives typically know what to say, how to say it to appease the other person's representative. Right? But then you have to watch the actions to see if the actions line up with what the representative has said, so that you can really get down to know who you're entering into a relationship with long term. So what is your approach to savings? Right? And then you watch their behavior. When they're out and about, do they just let their money go loosely, or are they penny pinching? Do you like a penny pincher? Right? You got to pay attention to the signs when it comes to how a person deals with their money, because trust me, until you get money as an issue out of the way, money will come up every single day in almost every action that you take in a relationship. It all boils down to, can we afford to do this? Should we do this, whether we can afford it or not, and those sorts of things. Number two, another way that you approach that is, have you started saving for retirement, and what is your strategy? Right? I said, no, I need to see a birth certificate, social security card, and paycheck stuff. Right? What's your approach to retirement? What kind of strategies do you have for your retirement? Right? You want to know, is this person is accumulating assets even on this person's radar? What's your approach to saving, investment? What is your, what are you doing with retirement? Another thing that you can ask is, do you invest at all? And most brothers would say, yeah, girl, I got them investments. Okay. Can you recommend a good money management company? Who manages your money? What company you use, or do you have your brokerage account with? See, these are all things that you can say in a conversation and determine whether or not a brother even knows anything about asset accumulation. Whether you know, whether a sister even knows anything about asset accumulation without coming off as a jerk, without coming off as probing. Ladies, you don't want to come off as a gold digger. You're asking all these financial questions, but you're testing a person's financial IQ, and you very well have the right to do that, and you very well should do that. You very well should do that, right? Do you have could you recommend a good brokerage account? I'm trying to get a new. I'm changing brokerage accounts. Can you recommend somebody? What is your approach to savings? How do you feel about the 401k versus traditional retirement plans versus IRAs and retirement plans and investments outside of job? You should be having these conversations to see where that person lies on their financial literacy scale, right? Has your family helped you financially in the last few years? You're trying to get at, what you're trying to know is do this dude come from money? Does this chick come from money? Does she has a financial support system that she can draw from? Because that can say a lot, right? That can say a lot, because it could say that you're a lazy some gun because you got your parents to fall back on. It could say that you don't really manage your money as well as you could because you've got parents with money to fall back on. So how to approach these kinds of conversations when it comes to income and assets? Start having conversations about financial terms, investments, IRAs, money market accounts, cash equivalents, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You got to test people's financial IQ. If you're looking to settle down with somebody long term, you want to know where they're stand. Not to say that this is going to make or break the relationship, but if somebody has a low IQ and you have a high financial IQ, you want to know that up front, and you want to know if they even have an interest in becoming financially astute. Because they may have some other qualities that you can deal with, and you can say over time we can grow together, or we can educate one another in these financial things. But you at least need to know where they stand, right? So number one, you should be prepared to or start having conversations about income and assets. Do you want to go and just flat out, like I said, get the check stub? No, but you should know what they do for a living, what kind of income range that they have. Because again, marriage is not only a spiritual deal, but it is also a financial and a business relationship as well. As much as we hate to say it in those terms, marriage is a spiritual relationship. You should be connecting to one another on a spiritual level, but on a practical level, it is a business relationship. And we don't like to talk about it in those terms because Hollywood has got us thinking all lovey-dovey. No, marriage is a business partnership as much as it is anything else. So if you're not talking money and financial situations and what each person is bringing to the table, then you could be going into something blind. And again, most marriages are ending because of financial trouble. So you want to have that income and asset conversation. Number two, this is critically important. You want to have this conversation with your mate, especially if you're in the dating phases. You kind of want to know how this person feels when it comes to credit card debt. Credit card debt is number two. Again, debt, that's one of the things that brings a lot of strain onto a relationship, and it usually causes a lot of relationships to snap. Most relationships, believe it or not, recover from infidelity, but they don't recover from financial strain and stress. That just becomes too much because the two were not on the same page as it relates to money, right? having this discussion about student loan debt is critical. So credit card debts. What you're trying to figure out, or what you want to know about this person is, hey, do you live above your means? Are you drowning in debt? What kind of interest do you have on these debts? Because it alludes to, what kind of credit history they have, right? Based on their interest. Do you expect me to help you with this credit card debt that you're bringing into the relationship? Now, that's what you want to know. But you don't ask as boldly as that, right? Yeah, at least I wouldn't recommend it. Some of you guys, that's just your personality. But you definitely want to get down to the bottom of it. How you ask it makes no never mind. But you want to get down to the bottom of you bringing $60,000 worth of credit card debt into this relationship. When we get married, are you expecting me to help you pay that off? Or are you good with that? You understand that you brought that in and you're going to take care of that, right? You have to understand these things before you get into the relationships, before you say I do, because again, on paper, see, without the paper, then marriage is more of that spiritual, emotional partnership. When you add the paperwork, you are entering into a business agreement that is bound by contract according to state and federal law when it comes to marriage. When it comes to marriage, without the paper, that's why some people don't like the whole paper deal, because I'm in a spiritual and emotional partnership with you. When you add the paper, by law, you transition that spiritual and emotional partnership into a business partnership that is bound by contractual law. Now, because I'm going into this relationship and we're going to be bound in a business relationship by contractual law, and by contractual law, you got $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 worth of credit card debt. That means when we come together and we're bound by contractual law, I am tied to those contracts that you brought into the relationship by default. So I need to understand what your expectations are with this particular debt that you bringing into the party. Do you expect me to help you pay off these debts that you brought into the relationship and help you manage the debt that we accumulate together, right? So how do you broach this conversation where it's a little more gentle, and you can do this early on in a relationship? See, when you're already married, man, y'all can have the conversations and they can go deep, and you guys are already bound. But how do you start talking about this stuff before you get to that level, right? You can ask, how do you prefer to pay? Right? How do you prefer to pay? Do you like to pay with cash, credit, or debt? Right? How do you prefer to pay? Yeah, say it's any paper you put your signature on automatically becomes a contract. Absolutely. How do you like to pay, and why? You prefer cash, credit, or bank cards or whatever, because you can get an idea. If someone is talking about, I get that old American Express out and that's how I like to pay. Well, get to the bottom of why you like to pay with credit. Well, I like to pay with credit and pay it off every month because I like to have a good credit score or whatever. You need to have these conversations. How do you prefer to pay and why? Do you carry balances on your credit cards and why? What's your approach to, and you don't have to say, do you carry a balance? What's your thought process when it comes to credit cards? Some people say you carry a small balance for a good credit score. What's your approach to that? Right? So you can open up the conversation to start talking about how one feels about credit and credit card debt. Right? Another way that you can say, how are you managing your debt? What is your strategy for, you're dealing with and overcoming and getting rid of debt? What is your strategy? Do you like to make an extra principal payment every once in a while? You talk about strategies to dealing with debt, and the person might say, nope, all I'm paying is that bare bones minimum. I pay the monthly minimum every month, and that's just it. That says a lot about a person, because you're only paying the monthly minimum. That means you're never going to get rid of debt, so you have no plan of getting out of debt. You're just going to live with debt for the rest of your life. Nah, we can't. We can't. This might be the end of this relationship right after this conversation, right? So what's your strategy, right? How are you keeping track with your credit score? Do you have a good app for your credit score? Do you have a good app? And this is a conversation in this day and age, is to broach the conversation. You can always ask about apps. Hey man, do you have a good expense tracking app that you're using? Trying to figure out, how do you manage your credit score? Are you using Credit Karma or something like that to keep track of your credit score? Because you want to know if this stuff is even on this person's radar. Credit score, what's a credit score? Why do I need an app to keep track of my credit score? If that's important to you and the person's answer is, why would I do that? You guys aren't compatible financially. Now, if they got some other stuff that they bring to the table, I get it. And if you want to educate them in that area, that's fine. But the whole point is, you have to know where they are. You don't want to get into the marriage without having these conversations, and now you're legally bound, and now all this stuff starts to come up. It's like, man, I'm glad you got that good job, baby, because I got all this credit card debt, man. We need to start attacking this right away, man. I want you to take $100 of your paycheck every week and apply towards the principal so we can get out of debt. You're like, wait a minute. You brought $80,000 worth of credit card debt into this marriage, and now you expect me to help you get out of it? So you have to know this stuff on the front end, right? How do you keep track of your credit score? What apps are you using to manage your credit score? That's a good way to bring it, a good soft way, and to see if, oh man, I don't have one, but I need to start monitoring. Okay, you at least understand that that's important. So based on where you are with your financial education, you want to make sure that that person is even in the ballpark, man. Some people are polar opposites and they're trying to make this money thing work. You don't have to do that if you just have some conversations about money. Number three thing that we need to be talking about before you get into a relationship and commit yourself one to another. Somebody mentions it in the chat, student loans. Student loans are important, man. People carry, or in today's society, people are carrying student loans to their grave. So you want to know, here's what you want to know. How much do you owe? Will you make enough on your job to pay back the student loans? Do you expect me to help you pay these student loans, right? Right? How comfortable you are talking about finances? Simply, the first question, whether dating or friends, that opens the door for all topics. Yep, absolutely. How comfortable are you talking about money and finance? Right? That's a good baseline enter a relationship with anybody, but especially a mate long term, so that door stays open. You're absolutely right, Jennifer. But you want to know how much student loan debt this person has. You want to know what kind of job they have to pay this student loan debt back. Are they even working in their career field and making enough money to pay this loan back over a lifetime, right? And you want to know what's their expectations. Right now, you're managing this student loan debt on your own. When we get married, do you expect me to help pay your student loans off, or are you going to continue to manage that stuff on your own? So how do you get into that conversation? Hey, you might talk about what school they graduated from. man, did you need to get any student loans to get you through? Right? And most people say, yeah, man, I got a ton of student loan debt. Most people say, no, I was able to, scholarships and thank God I only had to get, 3,000 or 4,000 in student loans or whatever the case is, right? Did you need to take out a loan to finish up your degree? Right? And then I'll tell you this, you listen to and you watch for the signs. Especially a lot of men like to brag about their scholastic status. Man, I've got a PhD. I've got I got 2 master's degrees. So when they're talking about being educated, a lot of times they're saying to you that I'm educated. What you're saying to me is chances are you got a lot of student loan debt. He said, if I'd have known all this in 98, right? So when you're listening to those conversations about those accolades, I'm thinking to myself, okay, you got 2 master's degrees, but you work at the same job in the same department as me. I know what I make. If you got 2 master's degrees, chances are you took out some loans for that. So you got to start paying attention to people's financial situations and the decisions that led them into those financial situations. How do you feel about student loan debt in general? If we had kids, would you want them to get student loans, or would you want to, prepare early so that they wouldn't have to? How do you feel about student loan debt? How do you feel about your student loan debt? Some people will say, if you ask them how they feel about their student loan debt, oh man, I'm gonna be paying this thing off till I die. That means they have no strategy. They have no plan. They're planning to go into their death, into the grave with debt. So you got to understand, okay, that's their thought process. Now, how do you deal with that? Are you okay with that? Are you cool with that? Right? How do you track the interest on your student loan debt? Why is that important? Because you want to know if they even care. Man, I don't know. I just make my payment every month and just, Well, you're not even tracking the interest. The loans are sold and transferred 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 10 times, and the interest rate changes based on every time it's being transferred and all, and you ain't tracking that stuff. You're just making payments. You're just making blind payments. So you have to understand how to get into these conversations and talk about this stuff openly. And be prepared to answer the follow-up questions that they're going to have for you. Oh, wait, what about your student loans? How do you feel about it? But you guys want to be on the same page financially before you get into debt. Even if you're not on the same page financially, I actually said that wrong. You don't have to be on the same page financially. You have to know what page your partner is on. Does that make sense? You don't have to be on the same page, but you absolutely have to know what page they are on. Because you can make a decision on whether or not you're going to help to educate them, recommend some stuff. If they want to learn, they want to grow, you're in it for better or for worse. So you need to know what page they're on, right? Because you think about for better or for worse. What does that mean? That means if I married my wife and she drinks a little bit and she smokes a little weed and she does a little bit. Now, I say I am with her for better or for worse. So that means if her little bit of drinking becomes a full-blown alcohol problem, then that's worse. But I've made a vow to be with her through that worse. If that smoking a little weed every now and then goes to doing meth, I said I was going to be with her for better or for worse. So I need to know what page she's on so I can determine, okay, here's the page she's on. I said I'm with her for better or for worse. Worse would look like this. Can I stomach that if she gets worse? Better would look like this. Okay, I'm cool if she gets better. I said for better or for worse. So if you're dealing with somebody who's already alcoholic and you decide to marry that person, hey, I'm going to be with her for worse. Worse than being an alcoholic, you gotta you look at that range of better or worse, right? Look at somebody's health. If you're dealing with somebody who's slightly overweight, okay, Slightly overweight. What does that mean? Okay, they're slightly overweight. So for better or for worse, for better, they become a health junkie, and I might not want to become a health junkie, but I said for better, so I'm going to still be with them. They're slightly overweight. For worse, they might become 100 pounds overweight. Are you still going to rock with them? You need to know this stuff about your mate going forward. So at least reading the same book. Right. So that y'all don't have to be on the same page, but you need to know what page they're on, and if you're willing to deal with helping them catch you up to where you are or not, right? So you also want to know, what is your strategy for paying off the debt? You know, what's your strategy for attacking your student loans? Did you have an end date? Have you put together a plan that says when you're going to be completely done paying your student loans? Nah, I'm just going to pay the minimum. Man, I just got another forbearance. I just got another forbearance. It's like, really? No. See, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to school and take a class, right? So, as long as you're in school, you don't have to pay them off. So I'm just going to take and get my master's program one class at a time. So I don't have to pay the student loan. You're saying, wait a minute. So you're going to take another class and keep pushing the student loans off. You and I eventually going to get married. And then by the time you're finished taking these doggone classes, because you've been pushing the loan off, the loan is going to come due right when we're getting ready to send our first kid to college. You got to really get on you really got to know where people's head is financially if you're going to partner with them in marriage or in business or in any other partnership. But this is about relationships, so especially that mate. What's your strategy for paying off your loans? Not paying on your loans. What's your strategy from getting out of student loan debt off together? Right? So that was number 3. Number 4, you want to talk in generalities about money management, period. Number 4 is money management, right? And basically, what you want to know is, are you in the game or are you a hot mess? Are you on your game when it comes to managing your money, or are you a hot mess? What you also want to know is, when it comes to money management, what do you like about managing money? Are you the type of person that says, man, this is something I don't like, so I'm waiting on somebody to come in and take it over for me? Right? You need to know this stuff about the person you're dealing with. I don't like to manage money, so I expect you to do everything. Well, what if you're the type of person that don't like money management? I don't like to pay the bills. I want to rely on somebody else to do that. I'll make the money, but somebody else will pay all the bills. And then the person that you're with, they feel the same way. And now you two get married, and neither one of you like to pay bills. Neither one of you like to manage the money. Neither one of you like to really look at finances. How is that going to work out for you guys? So if you're saying that, hey, I'm entering this relationship, you don't like to manage the money, you don't mind making the money, but you want me to do all the money management, okay, that's cool. I know that up front going in, right? What can you ascertain on the front end so you can make a decision on whether or not this thing can be a lasting repro? So how do you get to the topics of money management, right? Again, man, do you have some sort of expense tracker app that helps you keep up with your income and your expenses? Right? How do they respond to a question? Oh yeah, I'm using this Robinhood app. It not only helps me track my expenses, but it takes the leftover change, and it automatically invests it for me. So you want to have these kinds of conversations. And then what I like to tell, especially the sisters, because sometimes it seems like the sisters fall harder for the brothers on the front end. The brothers fall harder for the sisters on the back end, but on the front end, sisters seem to fall a lot harder in a shorter span of time when you haven't given the relationship enough time to really monitor that person's actions. So for instance, I tell my nieces, I don't have any daughters, but I have nieces, and I would talk to them. I say, hey, you need to ascertain that person's dreams, goals, and aspirations within the first 30 days, right? What is it that you're trying to do? When you guys are having those long conversations, you're on the phone all night and all that stuff, listen intently to what they say, and then watch for the actions that should be taking place to back that up. When my wife and I first got together, I was telling her about my dreams and aspirations in real estate, and she was a loan officer for a private company at the time. So when we got together and I was telling her about, hey, I want to learn how to flip houses and all this stuff, in the first 2 years, we did that. So she said, okay, here's a guy who said this is what he wants to do, and his actions fell behind what he said he wanted, and he executed on what he wanted. You get with a guy and you're in school and he says, oh yeah, I'm trying to get back in school, right? So y'all hook up in July, or y'all hook up in June. Man, I'm trying to get back in school, man. Go ahead and finish my degree out, and go ahead and get into engineering because that's my passion. And July come and it's like, okay, did you get enrolled in school? Which school are you going to get enrolled in? And if he says, huh, what you talking about? Then that lets you know he was just spitting game. He had no intention of getting back in school. But because you're in school, he figured that he needs to say he's trying to get back in school so that he can say, see, you got to make sure that you're watching the actions, and you have to allow enough time to see this person executing on the things that he fed you, the things that she fed you. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get my pharmacy tech license, and I'm gonna go ahead and become a pharmacist for the next 2 years, and I'm gonna get into nursing school. Okay, cool. We've been together 90 days, and you ain't said nothing about getting your pharmacy tech license since that first conversation we had. So make sure that you're allotting time for you to analyze actions that should be following up the words that they're saying. So if they're saying, oh yeah, you're asking about the money manager. Yeah, I'm using the Robinhood app, and it's great, right? So 30 days down the line, say, hey man, how much change has your Robinhood app actually transferred into an investment account for you? Huh? What Robinhood app? Oh man, you didn't sit there. So you got to call people out and hold them accountable if you're trying to walk through the rest of your life with them. So when they're talking this stuff about their money and the plans, because some people have enough game to say when you start talking money, they start talking about all of these wild ideas, and they know a few terms, and yes, they can talk the talk with you. But 30 days later, you call them out on the talk that they talk and say, how's that brokerage account coming along for you? How's that investment coming out? What percentage did your portfolio increase this month? Huh? What portfolio? Right. Now you got a whole nother problem on your hands if you decide to move forward in that relationship, because he's a liar. She's a liar. Right? So, how often do you check your accounts? We're talking about money management. Do you check your portfolio monthly or quarterly? What portfolio? Oh yeah, I check mine every 90 days. Yeah. What was the growth percentage the last time you checked? But if we're going to have these kinds of conversations and you're trying to get people to that place, then you have to know your stuff. You have to be on your game too. Now, it don't mean that you have to be super astute, but whatever you're expecting that guy to know, you're going to have to know some stuff yourself in order to test him to see if he knows. Or that gal, or whatever, right? Do you keep a budget? Why or why not? Is it written? Do you keep a written budget? Do you have a budgeting app that you use? You seem pretty on top of every dime you spend. What budgeting app are you using? Oh, I don't keep no budget. I just keep it all right here. And you just take a mental note. Yep, no budget. Keeps it all right there. Have these conversations with your significant other before they become significant. Right? Have these conversations before your potential significant other becomes significant in your life. Because I promise you, you're setting yourself up for a rocky road. Not to say that you can't, my wife and I, we were not financially astute when we connected and we grew together. But if you are unequally yoked in any area of your life, you need to know what that person is yoked to so you can determine whether or not you're going to carry more of the load on this in this particular area or not. Period. Right? You need to know that. But don't go into a marriage blindly, not knowing that you're finna be buried under a mountain of debt that they didn't tell you about. Not that they were hiding it, but because y'all never had this conversation. So now y'all got, you married this guy and he brought a bankruptcy from another business that he had. He brought $100,000 worth of medical debt that he had because he had some plastic surgery he didn't tell you about. And now you got to help shoulder the load because the marriage contract is a binding business agreement between the two of you. His debts just instantly became your debts. So you might want to know what debts he's bringing to the table, right? What's your favorite thing about money, right? Managing money, right? Or do you want to invest? You got long-term investment goals or short-term investment goals, things of that nature. Start having these conversations. I love the way the young lady put it earlier. Just, how comfortable are you talking about money? Right? Let them know off the top, hey, money is big for me. Not that I'm trying to get at your money, but I want to make sure that we are solid financially down the road. I want to make sure that we are going down the same financial path. So if we merge, we can continue to go down that very same path. Number 5, fifth thing, and then we'll do part 2 tomorrow. We'll go 6 through 10 tomorrow. So these are 10 money topics that you should discuss before getting married. If you're already married, then let's put this stuff on the table now, and let's figure out how we can devise a plan on how we can deal, because you might find out some things about your mate just based on this stuff now. You might find out that the reason y'all don't have no money is because he's secretly been paying off a student loan that he never told you about. Right? So put this stuff on the table now and say, hey, you know what? Let's get on the same page, or at least in the same book when it comes to our finances. All this time I've been paying the bills and I can't stand paying bills. Oh, I love to do that. But since you was doing it, I just let you do it. See, there's a lot of things that we just go into a relationship that we don't talk about, we don't communicate about. So let's have this conversation now. Number 5, the 5th thing you should talk about, money topic, is their financial upbringing. What is it that you're trying to get to the bottom of? Did growing up poor or rich mess that person up? There's nothing wrong with growing up rich, nothing wrong with growing up poor, but because they grew up rich or because they grew up poor, is this person jacked up? Right? Were you raised by wolves and that's why you don't have no money management skills, right? You want to know how this person was raised and what was the financial climate that they were raised in. Did the mom and dad have good money management skills or no? Right? This is important. How a person's upbringing has a lot to do with the person that they are right now. How a person was raised with money. We all know we just left out of Black Friday. How many people went out and bought their kids stuff that they wish they would have had when they were little, whether their kids wanted it or not? Right? we take our upbringing and the way that money was, whether money was abundance or whether it was scarce, whether mom was tight with money, whether my dad was free with money, whether mom worked hard for his money so he didn't let us spend it, or whatever the case is, however you were brought up with money and the principles behind money that you were taught in your household, that's affecting the way you deal with money and the way you behave with money right now today. So, some questions. How did your parents manage money? Right? Because chances are the way their parents manage money is the way that they manage money. So you can ask that without being too intrusive. Do you remember your parents ever arguing about money? Right? Because that can open up a whole nother can of worms. Man, all my mom and dad did was argue about money. And that could be why he turns the money over to you, because he don't want to argue about it. But you might be the person that says, hey, I want to turn the money over to you because I don't want to argue it. Now nobody wants to manage money. Right? How did you feel about your financial situation growing up? You know, we were extremely, extremely, extremely broke. Right. Jacked up. I saw daddy pay for everything mom needed, or he took care of her. She worked not because she had to, because she wanted to. Right? So that affects the way that you deal with money today. That probably has an aspiration that you have today, that, hey, I want to do the same thing that my dad did for my wife, that he did for my mom. Right? So the question is, how did you feel about your money situation growing up? We grew up broke as a mug, man, but we were not poor because my mom taught us how to have faith. She taught us how to be optimistic. So poor is a mindset that's more of a permanent state. Broke is just temporary. Now, I will be honest, I had to ask my mom on many occasions, how temporary is this situation? Because it seemed like we've been in it for a long time. But even as broke as we were, we spent weeks on end without no electricity. I remember times we spent months on end without no gas and hot water. But you know what? Our household was still the house that everybody congregated in, even though we didn't have any lights at times. We burning candles and all my friends wanted to come hang out. They thought that was cool. Nah, man, we got no money. Right? Mom was on welfare all my life. Funny, my mom really didn't start working until after the kids got grown. It's just funny because then we start paying and taking care of her, but that's when she got a job. So, how did you feel about your money situation growing up? Right? What did your parents teach you about money? What did you learn from your parents about money? What did you observe in your household about money? Most people today say, you know what? I saw how my parents behaved with money, but they never taught me anything about money. All they taught me was go to school, get a good grade so I can get a good job, so I can have some benefits. But they didn't teach me how money works. That's why the Black Wealth Movement is in high demand today, because we are in our 30s and 40s, and we're trying to figure out how to make money work for us instead of working for money. Right? If you work hard for every dime you get, that's the number one clue that you are financially illiterate. I'm going to run that one back. If you work hard for every dime you get, you, my friend, are financially illiterate. It's one of the number one myths about money. And we've been taught, man, you just gotta work hard for everything you get. I work hard for, and we brag about that. It's like, nope. If you are working hard for every dime you get, that's because you're financially illiterate. That is nothing to brag about. You want your money working hard for you. You can work hard for some of the money you get, but you shouldn't be working hard for every dime you get. That's financial impotence, right? You don't understand some things about money if you work hard for every dime. I work hard for a lot of the dimes I get, but not every dime. I got some dimes that came in while I was sleeping last night. I wasn't working at all. So that's that. And then lastly, how was your upbringing? How do you think your upbringing impacted the way that you handle money today? Right. So you're trying to get to the bottom of, if this person is messed up because the way their parents brought them up, or were their parents good and they became jacked up on their own, right? You got to really get to the core of who the person is and understand how they think, because the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So you want to know how this person thinks, because their thought process is what created the past behavior, and you can kind of predict that, hey, this person is going to evolve, they're going to grow, so chances are we're going to be in a better place because of their thought process and their thought patterns. Or you can say, hey, the way this person thinks is all jacked up, so the results they're going to get are going to be all jacked up, and I don't want no parts of it. But this should take place before the significant other becomes significant to you. Right? So a lot of times we look at a lot of the wrong things when we decide to make someone become significant in our lives. Man, she fine, she thick, she got long hair, she got short hair, she light skinned, she brown, she chocolate. We think about some of the wrong things that causes someone to become significant in our lives. We're putting the wrong priorities in place, the wrong checklist in place for long-term significance. Because for as long as you can live, you're going to be dealing with money. So you might want to know how this person that you plan to be in a significant relationship for the rest of your life, you want to know how they deal with money, how they think when it comes to money. What is their approach to money? Do they care about it? Do they not care about it? Do they spend it freely? Do they hoard it? You need to know all of this stuff. Are they free givers? Do they give to the church and to charities, or do they not? Because that has a lot to do with future blessings. The law of sowing and reaping and reciprocity is real. You need to know this about the people that you're entering into a long-term relationship with. So really quickly, let me recap the 5. These are 10 money topics to discuss before marriage, before entering into that long-term spiritual and emotional relationship, because it could definitely impact the emotions that you have one towards another when you're trying to save money and all the partner wants to do is spend money. That's not going to work. Right? So number 1, income and assets. You want to know what this person feels and believes about income and assets. Do they have any? Do they have a good income? Do they have assets? Do they believe in accumulating assets at all? You want to know this. Credit card debt. What's the rule on credit card debt? When we get married, do we pay all our credit card debt together? Or when we get married, I pay my credit cards and you pay your credit cards, and then if we have credit cards together, what's the rule when it comes to credit card debt? How do we manage that? That's important. Number 3, student loans. Same thing. If I bring $80,000 of student loan debt into the relationship, you bring 10. Do you now have 90,000 in student loan debt collectively, or do I still have 80 and you have 10? Right? Those parameters need to be established before we go into, because the last thing you want to do is go into the relationship and I'm thinking, man, she's got a nice job. She's going to help me with my 80,000. We're going to pay her 10 off real quick, and then we're going to concentrate on my 80. And you thinking the whole time, this brother got these 80,000 in student loan debt. It's going to take, with the money he makes, it's going to take him a long time to pay that off. right? We need to have those parameters established before we even become significant to one another. Money management in general. How does this person feel about money management? Is it important? Is it even on his radar? Is he trying to get better at it, or does he not even care? Does she not even care? How are they going to manage their money when we bring these two corporate entities together? Now I'm gonna leave that alone. When we bring these two corporate entities together, who's going to be the CFO? When these two entities come together, who's going to be the CFO? I need to know your money management skills and style. You need to know my money management skills and style, and which of the two is going to be better for this corporate partnership called marriage, right? And then number 5, to help determine where this person is financially, you might have to dig into their upbringing. How were you raised about money? Did you guys ever have money conversations around the dinner table? Did you even have dinner together as a family? That says a lot about the person that you're entering into a relationship. Is that even important to you, right? Do you have money management apps? So you got to dive in, guys. Financial instability is the number one cause of divorce in this country. Probably the world, but it's definitely the number. Financial issues, stress and strain that is produced by poor financial conditions is the number one cause of marriage in this country. Infidelity is up there, but most couples have statistically been surveyed, and they say they survive infidelity, but they can't survive financial insecurity. And that's what's really tearing families apart. Got to get the money thing right. So the Black Wealth Movement teaches how to manage money and how to get your money, how to get good positive cash flow and get solid financially. So if you're interested in learning how to better manage money, I want you to text Black Wealth Movement to 314-874-6887. We will teach you entrepreneurship, tax minimization, debt elimination, credit education, asset accumulation, and asset protection. And you get yourself right. You get with a queen or a king that got themselves right financially, and you guys decide on how the money management is going to take place, but you are both coming from a solid financial place, and then that marriage has a better chance of survival financially, which keep infidelity out of the thing, and you should be golden. Right? So I'm H. Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the Black community, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur. Until I talk to you guys tomorrow, where we do part 2, we go 6 through 10, put a nice bow on it. I want you to get your money up because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, y'all, you deserve it. Peace out.